Nephilim update. Nephilim update. Nephilim update.
It's been a while since we've had a Nephilim update.
Uh-huh.
And I think the wait was worth it. In fact, the wait for many people over many years might be worth it today. Because MSN.com mirrored an article from, well, this is from Live Science. Which I thought, yeah, it's a pretty straightforward mainstream science outlet here.
Uh-huh.
And the article is titled 20 of the most bizarre stories from the Bible.
20 of the most
bizarre stories from the Bible.
Okay. From Live Science.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear what they think about the stories from the Bible.
All right. So let's get into it, shall we? The first one. Where did it go? Oh, yeah. Human-God hybrids.
That's number one?
Number one.
Number one on the list is the Nephilim?
Which is weird because, yeah, okay. The Bible introduces mysterious superhumans that influenced God's decision to send a flood that covered the earth.
Mysterious superhumans that influenced God's decision. This is really weird in Live Science because up until even extremely recently, no church even recognized this.
Yeah, I got told to not pay attention to that stuff by a pastor.
And specifically, they are specifically referring to Genesis 6, which took, a bit of actual academic risk-taking. Rigor and risk-taking by some fairly modern academics to say, no, the Bible says it right here. God flooded the earth not just because God was kind of mad because people were being mean to each other. Yeah. Which is kind of the Sunday school version. And not even the Sunday school version. That was the Sunday morning big church version. Yeah. People were mean to each other, so God flooded the whole world. And it's right there. It says, no, it's because of something else.
Yeah, I mean, they straight up quote Genesis 6:2. The book of Genesis says, the sons of God saw the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Genesis 6:2. Their children were God-human hybrids that the Bible refers to as the Nephilim.
Human hybrids.
God was unhappy about this, interbreeding and, quote, regretting that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled, Genesis 6:6. So he sent a flood that wiped out many of the humans and Nephilim, but not before ordering Noah to build an ark that saved a select few. The biblical story suggests that the breeding between gods and humans was a major factor in God's decision to send the flood. Live Science.
Interesting. Live Science. Number one on the list is the Nephilim of weird Bible stories. I can't wait to hear what the rest of the list is like. Nephilim is number one.
Nephilim number one. The next one is The End. And this one's a little bit more scholarly. If you'd ever studied biblical apologetics,
you can just give us what they're referring to. What is it?
They're
just
basically saying
the book of the Revelation.
No. They're talking about the book of Mark. The book of Mark ends abruptly. So scholars argue, like, oh, was it the whole thing? Did it get cut off? Did it get edited? Is it really the oldest gospel book? And da-da-da-da-da. Not that interesting.
How is that a weird story from the Bible?
Yeah.
You went from Nephilim to
God-human hybrids to who is the gospel authentic?
Kind of seems like Mark ended pretty abruptly. Oh, weird.
And then there's family problems, which is, talking about the book of Luke and, just additional context about Jesus. I mean, okay, yeah, not that bizarre, but don't worry.
Just
it's
kind
all
of like
sprinkled
academic, it's kind of like academic grievances with the Bible. And then the Nephilim at the top of the list.
Yeah, the big fish story. Did a whale really swallow Jonah?
Whoa.
And then this is another one that's really very famous. It's not, the story is bizarre, but it's not.
You don't even need to be like a Bible person to know that story.
Yeah. The next one, other mysterious resurrections. Okay. Another apologetics kind of topic. Like, okay, well, yep. We know that it wasn't just Jesus that resurrected. Anyone that reads the Bible knows about that. So, okay. Right. Literal scapegoat. At one point, God has anointed Aaron, the brother of Moses.
Ooh, for frequently your Hebrew history. Whoa.
Behind a set of curtains near the Ark of the Covenant, God regards the area behind the curtain as a private area that people should stay away from when possible. I like how nonchalant they write it. The really, really mainstreamed language of all the more interesting sort of topics in the Bible. But yeah, this is really not that interesting. But let's just keep going through here because it started
off with the Nephilim as a huge bait and switch.
It was
how weird stories from the Bible will be.
This one is relevant though. Exceedingly long lifespans. Because we've been talking about as it were in the days of Noah. We talk about Noah and the biblical patriarchs living a very long time. And in connection to transhumanism, talking about how, hey, we can live much, much longer with the science and technology we have now. And it sort of goes into, it doesn't go into all those details, but it talks about all the the people that lived a long time in the Bible. And then it says, scholars have long debated why the book of Genesis tells of people having super long lifespans. Swenson wrote in her book, one possibility is that the writers of Genesis measured the length of a year differently, she said. Another possible explanation is that the shortening of lifespans, as the Bible goes on, is a punishment for humanity's sins. Just like, okay, yeah. But yeah, just to have that in there as a bizarre thing is, just the transhumanist conversation, bringing some of these topics to light here. Nile turning blood. Okay, they're getting lazy. That's not that.
It's like just even in the Sunday
Bible.
School.
Well, even in the Bible, not in the Bible, in this article at the very end, they say that a more mundane explanation for why the Nile may have appeared red is the red algae bloom.
Whoa.
So bizarre life science.
Weird
but
story,
it's almost like it's all of this is an excuse to put in the gods and humans Nephilim thing. Let's see. There's a few more in here. Oops,
it's good. Don't you like the idea that perhaps your and our work over the past 10 years may have played some sort of role in the idea of the Nephilim becoming so sort of, I don't know, accepted
as sort of a talking point,
sort of like to be a talking point in live science. I mean, like you mentioned, back in 2012 when I'm not saying we're the first to talk about it, but it was kind of the basis of our thing back in 2012. Talking about the Nephilim literally almost got both of us fired once. And that any mainstream outlet wouldn't even have connection with the person who would even know the word Nephilim. So I take this as a win, Guns.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, a couple more here, then we'll wrap it up here. Moses has horns. I don't know if you knew about this.
I love that one.
It's a really interesting one to talk about.
I bring that one up on Ravel all the time.
Yeah. Most modern translations say it's shown or some such synonym, but that's a guess because the Hebrew word karan doesn't appear anywhere else in the Bible. One possibility is that Quran actually means horns because it's similar to the common Hebrew noun Karen. So yeah, there's that idea. And
the word actually as a more direct translation is protrusion. So Moses had protrusions coming from his face.
Right.
And actually that was believed for a very long time. Lots of Renaissance sculptures and paintings and stuff. You can see depictions of Moses with horns all over the place up until even fairly recently.
Yeah. Swenson notes that the iconography of the ancient Near East, in regard to the horns here, shows the prevalence of horns on gods and goddesses, the association of horns with exceptional beings and special power.
Yeah, it's a little different now. Horns are sort of directly attributed to like a demon or a devil or something. So it makes it hard to kind of translate the idea. Yeah,
talking donkey. This one was fun. Gnarly visions. Gnarly visions, Basil. In one utterly bizarre vision of God, the prophet Ezekiel says God appears to him on, quote, a throne of lapis lazuli, as a figure like that of a man. I saw that from what appeared to be his waist up, he looked like glowing metal, as if full of fire, and that from there down he looked like fire, and brilliant lights surrounded him. In the vision, Ezekiel also mentioned seeing 4 living creatures near God. In appearance, their form was human, but each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. With the wheel on the ground beside each of the creatures, Ezekiel 1:6, the story is set after the destruction of the first temple by the Babylonians in 586 BC. And so Swenson notes, this dramatic appearance may be a way of saying that God is alive despite the destruction of the temple.
Wow.
Why even bring up such a bizarre sighting and then have like the most mundane translation? It's just weird to me.
What is the point of this article? Like at the
20
end of
most bizarre stories from the Bible.
Just clickbait, basically.
7 demons of Mary.
They're not trying to be like, oh, but we have science now, so.
Fierce cherubs. Cool. In modern times, cherubs are often depicted as angelic infants with wings in biblical stories. Yeah. However, cherubs are sometimes menacing. In fact, they guard the Garden of Eden in the Ark of the Covenant. And then another quote here. Contrary to popular opinion, many a Christmas card, the Bible's cherubim are ferocious creatures. Uh-oh, I lost Basil. Nope, you're there.
Yeah.
I lost you for a second.
You're losing me, man. This article's kind of losing me, but we are also losing internet connection. We might need to end the show.
Just wait. Quote, contrary to popular opinion in many a Christmas card, the Bible's cherubim are ferocious creatures, hybrid beings not found in nature, but probably informed by ancient Near Eastern iconography. There it is, the hybrid beings again. They keep using the hybrid beings as a landing spot that they keep coming back to in this article. And then, are you still there? I don't know if you're there anymore.
I just came back. I don't know if you heard me.
Yeah, I heard you kind of, A Pharaoh's hardened heart.
No, guns. We gotta end this. This is over.
No. This is, I think this is the giveaway.
At the end of this?
Yes,
I'm gonna
this
die.
Is a giveaway.
My internet's dying.
Oh, your internet. Oh, your literal. It's not okay. We'll do this one as the last one here. Okay, this is number 19. Demoting the gods. Okay. Although Judaism and Christianity are both monotheistic religions, the Bible sometimes implies that other gods exist. One example from the Old Testament in Psalm 82. Okay. And it talks about the assembly of God. It's talking about the divine council. Live science, without crediting anybody in this, except for the people they quote here, like one random person.
Yeah.
This is Dr. Michael Heiser's work. He's the one that academically showed the idea of the Bible talking about a council of gods, lowercase g, that exist, and the whole deal, the divine council, and Psalm 82 being the crux of that argument. And here live science brings it up. Brings up the narrative of the demoting gods in the Bible, and Psalm 82 being the main example here. And of course they just sort of poo-poo it, but I think overall, and of course the main thing being the whole Nephilim conversation, we've gotten to a point where the Nephilim are pretty mainstream and people are probably kind of curious like where that comes from. And, it makes me upset that there's so much content that we have made over the years that is just wiped out. It's just gone. So you're sort of normal Joe six-pack kind of guy. When they start looking stuff up, I mean, they'll still find stuff from other people or whatever, but the wealth of work that was done covering this subject matter is wiped out, and that makes me sad.
Well, yeah, it makes us both sad. Of course, the podcasting, the Canary Cry Radio, a separate podcast, go check it out. Thankfully, it was not relying on the big tech platforms, at least none that have banned it yet. But yeah, lots and lots and lots of, well, specifically your work with the Face Like the Sun channel. But and that's just kind of goes to show that, unfortunately, even though people can kind of get proud and feel haughty and say nice things about the fact that when we get banned, it's okay, it's a Medal of Honor or something, It still is really sad. It's a bummer. Well, it's a huge bummer.
It's a bummer in more, a lot of different ways, but
for so many ways. For so many reasons.
One of them being that we saw something unfolding. We saw sort of the trajectory of culture, and we called it out, and we created content that can be presentable to the church. But now it's not going to come through that large mass of information and years of work. It's going to come through mainstream, how they want the public to be fed this kind of information.
It's going to come from live science. So many people now are going to learn about the Nephilim through live science, and they're not going to have Face Like the Sun to go explore it more.
Well, not just Face Like the Sun. There's a lot that got taken down.
I hear you, but I'm just saying it's a whole thing. Mm-hmm. And to think that there wasn't some sort of bigger agenda, I think would just be silly. It's just an ignorant thing to do.